Well, I mean, we were going to talk about Iron Man. And now how Iron Man is going... I did not expect to be called out on that. How Iron Man
You're the one
is
that's
now going to be a 15-year-old girl. Now, to be fair, though, unlike what we saw in Thor, where they just took the name Thor and they just made it a woman, this one, we have a 15-year-old girl who worked for MIT. So we're also... we're having kind of...
Or was a student at?
I'm sorry?
Worked or was a student at?
Student. I apologize. She's a student. So I like that they're trying to tie in the MCU to a little bit of degree, it seems like, because if you remember in the MCU, he gave grants and funded everybody. Anything that they wanted to do, all of their stuff had been funded. So I think that was kind of a play on that. She creates an Iron Man suit. Tony finds out after the Civil War II, because apparently they decided to do it twice. I don't know anything about that. He retired for good, because, you know, they all retire for good. And now made her the new Iron Man. And I don't hate that as much as you guys seem to hate that. I don't... It's not like Thor. It is different in some respects, I think.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, first of all, unlike what DC has done with some of their politifying their characters, they're not retconning anything. And I mean, granted, the continuity of Marvel is just as screwy as DC right now, but they're not retconning Tony Stark that Tony Stark is a 15-year-old black girl. You know, but they didn't with Thor either. I mean, the female Thor is Jane Foster using the hammer. The female Wolverine is X-23, a female clone of Logan. So they're all distinct and different characters from what they were before. And, you know, they're technically additions to the Marvel Universe, which makes it a little bit less offensive than if they just say, oh, by the way, this guy we've been publishing for the last 40 years is gay. Even though he's been married and, well, he's gay because it's popular. However, I think that, you know, and so if she is literally going to be called Iron Man and flying around looking like a hot 15-year-old black chick, yeah, they need a different name.
Yeah, that was something I was going to bring up too. The fact that she is sexualized and 15 beyond belief is...
Yeah, that picture does not look like a 15-year-old the way that they drew that picture. Right. That cover, I believe.
Yeah, do you have a picture you can bring up?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now while we're talking.
That's the one that was on all the news sites.
Yeah, and I mean, let's say, I mean, Iron Man, and because there have been female people using Stark technology before. For example, Rescue, you know, which is Pepper Potts Iron Man. Right. And of course, I guess it's not politically correct enough to know that Tony Stark has Pepper Potts in an iron suit and his best friend, who happens to be a black guy, also in an iron suit. No, so now we got to put a black girl in an iron suit with him. But what the hell is that she's wearing there? How is that in the slightest bit going to be an effective suit of armor when it's a freaking it's a sleeveless half shirt?
Well, I don't think that's her armor. I think
I don't think that's the armor either.
I think that's
we don't know. I mean, you know, but I'm just saying. I mean, this. And if that's her proportionate size, I assume that's Tony standing behind her.
Yes.
And I mean, okay, so she's a little tiny 15-year-old. And so now, I mean, it's like you were mentioning the MCU, it seems like Tony Stark is like habitually wanting to put 15-year-olds in danger, I guess. You know, oh, you know, have you met Peter Parker?
Get out there and fight my battle.
That was another thing too. I mean, it is consistent that he seems to be wanting to take superheroes and or take young people and make them superheroes. So at least he's staying consistent when it comes to that, it seems like.
Right. Well, that's because they're building up to the mega series coming up about how he's a pedophile or something.
Yeah.
Hey, come on. These days, would you really say that's beyond the realm of possibility here?
Oh, I don't.
I mean, with the crap they pulled.
That's.
Remember, Captain America has been Hydra all along.
This is going to be another meeting we're going to have after the show. Is what this is coming down to right here. I don't know. I think she's too sexualized. I agree. I think if they're trying to make a point, and the guy, I'm going to pull up what he said in just a minute. The writer, last name Bendis, I forget. I didn't even look.
Yeah, Brian Michael Bendis.
Brian Michael Bendis, who is just a wonderful person that I don't wish any harm to, and I definitely don't want to go to hell when he dies. Is so strictly just SJW, radical left about this. And I don't think you have to be. I think it's an interesting... I like it. I think that it could be fun. I don't think that she should be, quote-unquote, Iron Man. I think it would have been cool if she built her own iron suit, and then Tony came and said, all right, this is fine, but you need to make it your own. I think this is how you need to do an effective new character that you want to be similar to the old character, but you want them to bust out and be their own person. Because this has happened. I think this is a wonderful setup. But like you said, she doesn't need to be Iron Man. She can make her own suit and be someone new with Tony guiding her. I think that would be wonderful.
Well, and I would be fine with that. And that's the thing. It's just like we don't need Jane Foster to be Thor. But Jane Foster could be a warrior in her own right or whatever. Just like we got the Beta Ray Bill was an offshoot from Thor. You don't have to simply usurp the most popular characters you have in order to score political points. And of course, with Marvel doing it now with Thor, Wolverine, and now Iron Man, is just like stupid.
Firefly. Go ahead.
Well, what? She did build her. Let's see, that's how Tony
No, not that. Miss Tracy K said in reference to the pedophile arc.
Yeah, don't give them any ideas.
Yeah, don't give them any freaking ideas.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like Marvel and DC. I mean, let's face it, and I don't know the numbers right now. I don't know if you've looked at all time, but Marvel and DC have not been able to sell a freaking comic book to save their lives in the last decade. The
comic book industry is not doing as well as people think it is.
Right. The only reason the comic book industry gets any attention at all is because it's the inspiration for all big blockbuster movies these days. And so, Superman, has made more money with Man of Steel and Batman v Superman than the last 5 years of comic books from DC.
Oh, by far.
Yeah. And same thing as far as, if you look at the MCU, that has dwarfed what Marvel Comics makes. And, so it's not, Marvel can't push anything on the comics anymore, and nobody's reading it because this is the crap they're putting out. Comic books are supposed to be, and I'm sorry for getting on a tirade here, but my problem with this is, and it's not even this girl that's going to be, Iron Sidekick or whatever she's going to be. It's that they're so worried now about trying to do some kind of social justice warrior message. They're so worried now about making a political statement with everything that they do. They're so obsessed now with in the DC Rebirth. I'll tell you, I read the first Rebirth. It wasn't half bad, but that they really have to throw this is the initial first comic book, and they have to throw into the middle of it that some kid is struggling because he's gay. And it's like, nobody else in the entire comic book even mentions their sexuality, but you got to throw the one kid in there that's gay, and he's just staring in the mirror about how horrible it is to be gay. And that's not even a very good message about homosexuality. I mean, you're being stupid. It doesn't have to be a negative. If you want to portray it as something that's a good thing or a normal thing, then you don't have every time you have a gay character in your thing that they're struggling with it. But at any rate, they're so obsessed with this crap that they forgot about the fact that when comic books were popular, and I'm talking about all the way back in the Golden Age and certainly in the Bronze Age when me and Tim were collecting. When comic books were popular, it's because of the fact that they were written for all ages. They were not written for an adult crowd, an adult liberal crowd, an adult liberal social justice warrior crowd, an adult liberal social justice warrior gay activist crowd. No, they were written for all ages. They were not political for the most part. As political as comics was things like the analogy of the X-Men for all people who are, oppressed in as far as like racism and stuff like that. That's about as far as it went. You didn't have to. I mean, now it's just like.
Well, here's my problem. It's not just that they're writing it for those crowds. It's that they're taking up the mantle and they're trying to prove a point. And I think Bendis, that wonderful specimen of a human being, that basically better than us God among men, when he was talking about this and people who might not like it, this is what he had to say. And this is from Polygon. Oh, after I just played that. Bendis said that unfortunately there were racist individuals who had a problem with Iron Man being a black woman. It's important to him, he added, to be able to tell different stories from different perspectives, and the creation of Williams felt entirely organic. He went on to talk about how if you don't like this, that you're somehow racist. You cannot like the character. You cannot like the character and not be a racist. That's what gets me about this.
Well, you're a racist if you didn't vote for Obama, or you're a sexist if you don't like the new Ghostbusters. It's the standard attack from the hardcore believer in something, is that somehow if you disagree with what we're doing with this particular thing, it means you're against something that's just an element of that character, which is stupid. I mean, it's just plain stupid. You're no more racist for disagreeing with Obama on politics than you're a racist for disagreeing with Herman Cain on politics. And for this, I mean, the fact that she's a black girl to me is irrelevant. If they're going to have Tony Stark now be a benefactor of Iron Man, and that's the evolution of the character, fine. But if you're going to have a female, it shouldn't be called Iron Man, number one. If anything, you should call it Iron Woman, or, I don't know, Ironette, whatever you want to call it.
Ironette.
But I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? It's like, the new Batman's going to be a chick. Well, wouldn't that be Batwoman? No, that's a completely... Well, what about Batgirl? No, that's taken too.
I stand corrected.
But the new Batman's going to be a chick.
I stand corrected. After Michael said that, you are a racist if you disagree about it being a woman.
Oh.
That's...
racist and sexist.
Apparently. Yeah. But no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to...
Well, no, but the thing is that that just goes to prove what I'm saying, is that they're more concerned with making some kind of political social justice point than they are about writing good stories, which is why the comic book industry has tanked.
That is. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, that's a mic drop moment right there. I'm sorry. But if they think that, they're all so full of themselves, they're busy smelling their own farts while they're enjoying, how wonderful they are.
Thanks.
And without stopping to think about the fact that they're not bothering to actually write good stories. They're just trying to shove some political agenda in a bottle and put the Iron Man name on it. And like I said, it's not, this character, she may be a great breakout character that turns out to be awesome in the next 20 years. At the same time, it's like when other people, some people were cheering about the idea that X-23 is going to be in the next X-Men film. I just groaned. I am so done with this crap. And so, do you even know who X-23 is, Tim?
That's the female Wolverine.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but there was a hint of that in the stinger at the end of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And it's like, why can't you, and again, I don't blame Marvel Studios for this, because the X-Men franchise, of course, is run by Fox. But why they could take a lesson from Marvel Studios. I mean, they put Jessica Jones on the air, which is a ballsy pro-woman show.
Oh, it's a great show.
Yeah, and and it does it without bastardizing some existing character, and puts her into the universe seamlessly. So that, I mean, even though, in the old days of Luke Cage and Daredevil, there was no Jessica Jones, the way that they integrated it together works great. And I'm fine with that. And I would be fine. And if this girl that's going to be Tony Stark's protege is awesome, great. But why does she have to now be Iron Man? That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. Tim, you've been kind of quiet on this. What do you think?
My opinion on this is the same as it's been with any of the others that have come up in the past. If you want a black character, an Asian character, a Muslim character, a Mexican character, a gay character, whatever character, come up with an awesome idea, and the public will thrive, will flock to it.
Mm-hmm.
But to take established characters and change them into something else is stupid. The only reason, in my opinion, that they're doing that with the Iron Man thing is because the Iron Man name is out there. Because of the films and stuff, it's like, oh, Iron Man. Now you can, get the news covers that they've got with the story today and everything. And it's like, why not come up with other characters that are completely unique unto themselves? I mean, it's not like they don't exist. The ones that are not offshoots of male counterparts, Elektra, Black Orchid, Storm, Vixen, Black Canary, Crimson Fox. It's not like they don't exist.
Right.
If Bendis is not talented enough to come up with original, unique, different characters, then he's a piss poor writer. I don't care if they want to sit there and say, well, Tony Stark has retired. Fine. Then let Rhodey do it. War Machine.
And that happened in the 80s.
And that did happen in the 80s. And again, Rhodey's a black character who I don't really give a shit, but the whole point is that he was actually his bodyguard / backup or whatever. Right. And I had no problem with that. But when you try and take a female character and shoehorn them into what's consistently been a male character, it's just ridiculous. It's like the people who are calling out for a female James Bond or a female Doctor Who, or it's just like one thing after another where it's like, can we not have any male icons anymore? And if you want to have strong female characters, God, I love strong female characters. I've gone over this before. I love Buffy. I love the Buffy the Vampire Slayer show. I love The Bride and the Kill Bill films. There's no reason why you cannot have strong female leads, strong female heroines. But stop trying to take away what's been around and established for forever. And it's not a male, getting their panties in a bunch or anything like that. It's just, it gets to a certain point. If I said to you, hey, I've got a great idea, Wonder Woman is now going to be Wonder Man. Now, yes, there is a Wonder Man character with Marvel, but I'm just using it as an example. And you took the basic Stars and Stripes thing and Wonder Woman died, and so now Steve Trevor's taking up the mantle of Wonder Man. Everybody would have
you find out there's another island that's all men that doesn't allow women.
Yeah, everybody would have a dump, and then it would be like, oh my God, this is anti-woman. Well, it's a stupid idea. That's the whole point. It is a stupid idea, and if again, I have 30,000 comics, okay. And I have a bunch of series that star female characters. I love Zatanna. Now, granted, you could say she's kind of like an offshoot of Zatara, her father, but her father never had his own book. And he was a minor DC character. I have that. I have Madame Xanadu. I have Wonder Woman. I have Ms. Marvel. I have the Hellcat comic book. There are only 5 issues of it from the 70s, but I have it. And I love female characters, but stop screwing with the male ones. Leave it alone. It'd be different if they weren't characters that had a 50 or 60 year history.
Right. Well, I was going to say that, me, my 2 favorite comic books when I was a kid were the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four was obviously my all-time favorite. And Sue Storm, she's a great character. In the comic books, she's not just, oh, look, it's the blonde girl. You know, she is actually the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four. She is, you know, probably one of the most intelligent women in the Marvel Universe. And she also has to deal with, you know, not just the family issues of the superhero team, but having the kids and there are issues with that. And I mean, they had a really touching up issue back in the early 80s when she had a miscarriage, and she went through a hell of a time after that, but she became stronger for it and all this. I mean, she's an interesting character, not just, oh, look, let's put a woman out there. And on the X-Men side of it, the Phoenix Saga, considered one of the greatest stories in comics, and of course centered around the most powerful woman in the universe. And one of my favorite characters from the X-Men all along has always been Storm, because she always had this really interesting balance of the fact that she seemed so serene and everything, but it was because her power was so devastatingly powerful that she had to maintain control at all times. And, you know, and then she unfortunately was completely butchered and ruined and given a mohawk and then played by Halle Berry. But the you know, these characters are there. I mean, it's not like, oh, Marvel doesn't have a black female character to work with. You know, well, it's, if you just want to do it for the sake of quota, I'm sorry, but the characters are already existing.
Well, there was a good point that I just thought of that was kind of brought up in the chat, but I think is interesting. And what if they did something? If it's going to be something akin to the Batman Beyond series. Have you guys seen Batman Beyond?
Hated it.
Okay. Well,
hated it.
Y'all are crazy.
I
never saw it. I can't comment.
Well, basically what it is Batman was too old to do what he does, so he got a young protege that he taught to do everything for him. And it just went from there. So basically it was a younger Batman with Batman as the mentor.
But you see, the thing is, that's all fine and dandy if you know, I understand that could be what they're doing or whatever. But then if Tony Stark is now too old for this shit, where he's got to retire 2 weeks away from retirement, then does that mean that we're going to see the retirement of all the original Marvel characters that are that are human? Because shouldn't they all be too old now?
I would, well, first off, it doesn't always follow a solid timeline between all of the series, but I would say that if this is successful, I'd say if this is successful, yeah, you're going to see that.
I don't think Tony is from what I've read, he's not stepping down because he's too old. It's because of the events of Civil War II.
Right.
But how do they have a second Civil War? What the hell? It's like, you know,
I don't know. I didn't.
How the hell does
Civil War II? This time they still don't get along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This time someone might actually get hurt and it stick.
Right. So yeah. But yeah, I'm done with this. I think it's a stupid
pivotal.
move.
This is pivotal. It's going to change everything.
Well, no, it's not, and that's the thing. It's going to have, you know, what the relevance of. I mean, the funny thing is, we've talked about this now for 15 minutes or so, and I think that the overall impact to us is going to be less than the impact that we have from whether or not Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is awesome. Because, quite frankly, nobody gives a crap about the comics anymore.
I do have to say, I think it's really appropriate for our show that Renee said, "What are we complaining about today?"
Yeah.
I don't see this. This is one of the rare times that I don't think we're complaining. That's the thing. I think I'm actually enjoying this show. We're not complaining about stuff. We're just
we're complaining. You're just enjoying it more because you're in on it a little.
A little, he says. A little. No, it's not. It's not that. I mean, I'm part of the other shows. I don't know. It's complaining. I think it'll be interesting. I think they're sexualizing a 15-year-old, so that needs to stop. But beyond that, I'd be interested to see where they go with it. I think that'll be a fun adventure.
You can start reading Invincible Iron Man. You know, and there's a great comic book store on Broad Street.
Oh, hell no. No, I'm not going to support comic books. Not with Bendis. As long as
if you're
Bendis
not going to support the business, then quit saying it's good. It's an interesting idea. We're looking forward to seeing what happens. You're not going to see what happens.
I think it would be interesting if Bendis wasn't an idiot and thought that anyone who doesn't like stuff is obviously a racist. So,
well, that's just the mentality.
It's just the mentality of the left.
It really is.
So,
Tim and I have been taking a journey through time.